Good afternoon, friends. So now in this lecture we will see what is a rate of convergence and what is an order of convergence, and then afterwards we will go for the what is a rate of convergence and what is an order of convergence for the Newton-Raphson secant method. Okay. For that, let us go for the first one. We'll see what is an order of convergence or the rate of convergence. Okay, let us go for the definition first. An iterative method is said to be of order P. An iterative method is said to be of order P. Iterative method is said to be of order P. Iterative method of order P, or it has a rate of convergence of order P if P is a largest positive real number. Here P is largest positive real number. What is P? P is the largest positive real number for which there exists a finite constant C not equal to 0. There exists a finite constant C not equal to 0 such that epsilon k plus 1 is equal to C, epsilon k raised to P. Okay. If there exists a constant C and if there exists a P largest positive real number such that we have this condition, we will say that it is rate of convergence or the order of convergence is P. Okay. And what is this epsilon k? This is a notation for our error. No? So this is nothing but the difference between zeta, and that is our exact root minus the xk. That is kth approximate. Okay. So now the constant C is called asymptotic error constant. This constant C is asymptotic error constant, which will give you the relation between the kth iterative error and the k plus 1th iterative error. And if this condition is going to hold, we call this method has a rate of convergence or order of convergence is P. Okay. So an iterative method is said to be of order P, or it has a rate of convergence P if there exists a constant C such that which satisfy the condition epsilon k plus 1 is equal to C epsilon k raised to P, where what is epsilon k? This is the error at the kth step, that is our xk is a kth approximate root and zeta is the exact root. So difference between these two we are writing here. So we have to find out the relation between epsilon k plus 1 and epsilon k in such a way that there exists some constant C and here we should have some power P. So then we are going to call that P as a rate of convergence. Okay. So let us go for the theorem. Okay, what is the statement of theorem? X is equal to zeta be the root of equation. X is equal to zeta be the root of equation f of x is equal to 0. We have f of x is equal to 0 is the equation. X equal to zeta is a root. And let I be the interval containing the point x equal to 0. Let I be the interval which contains a point x equal to zeta, and we can say zeta belongs to interval I. And what we have, phi of x and phi dash of x be the continuous function, with phi of x and phi dash of x be a continuous function. Okay, these are the continuous function on the interval I, where phi of x is defined by, where phi of x is defined by phi of x is equals to x. We are provided phi of x, phi dash of x are continuous, and we are given that phi of x is equal to x, which means that phi of x is a solution and which is equivalent to show that f of x is equal to 0. Then if mod of phi dash of x is less than equal to 1, mod of phi dash of x is strictly less than 1, for all x belongs to y, then there exists a sequence of approximation. There exists a sequence of approximation such that x0, x1, x2 up to so on xn and so on, which converges to root zeta provided initial approximation is chooses in the interval I. Okay, provided that x0 is taken from interval I. Okay, what you understand from this statement? We are provided that let x equal to zeta be the root of our equation and let I be the interval containing the point x equal to zeta. Okay, so zeta belongs to I, and what is given next? We are provided phi of x, phi dash of x are continuous, and we are given that phi of x is equal to x is provided to us, which means that it is a solution. It means that it satisfies our equation, and we have given that if mod of phi dash of x is less than 1, we have to prove that there exists a sequence such that x0, x1 up to xn and so on, defined by which will converge to. That means this sequence will converge to the root zeta. Those who remember or those who have solved the example, you can see it after some iteration, that means after x5 or x7, x6, that is after some iteration we will reach very nearer to our root zeta. So here also we will perform n iteration or n plus 1, and so that we get the sequence of the root in such a way that they will converge to the real root or exact root of our equation zeta. Okay, so let us go for the theorem one by one. Okay, what is given to us? Since zeta is the exact root of our equation, if zeta is the root of our equation, it must satisfy this equation x equal to phi of x, because we have provided that phi satisfy the equation. It means that x equal to phi of x, it means it is equivalent to say that f of x is equals to 0, or it must satisfy our equation. So zeta is equals to phi of zeta, must be our condition if zeta is the exact root of our equation. Okay, so for that let us name this equation, which is equation number 1, which is given to us. Okay, so now further we can say what will be the value of phi of x0. It will be our x1, no? After putting all the values of x0, we will get the values of x1. So x1 we can get it by phi of x0. So let us rename this equation as equation 2. Okay, now after subtracting we get zeta minus x1. We can subtract this equation, zeta minus x1. So it is equals to phi of zeta minus phi of x0. Okay. So according to mean value theorem, there exists at least one point zeta naught such that, what is a mean value theorem? I hope you have remembered. I don't know whether you know about the mean value theorem. Phi dash of zeta naught is a one derivative of a function which satisfy the conditions f of phi of zeta minus phi of x naught divided by zeta minus x naught. This is what a mean value theorem. If you are not getting this, you can go for searching the what is a mean value theorem. So phi dash of zeta naught is equals to, what is a phi dash of zeta naught? Phi of zeta minus phi of x naught divided by zeta minus x naught. Okay. So now we can write the value of phi of zeta minus phi of x naught. Phi of zeta minus phi of x naught will be theta minus x naught into phi dash of x naught. So let me write down here zeta minus x1 is equals to phi dash of zeta naught and zeta minus x naught. Okay. So just by using the mean value theorem, we got this equation, phi dash of zeta naught into zeta minus x naught is equals to zeta minus x1. So let us name this as equation number 3. So in this way we can write down the next equations. So what will be the next equation? I can write the next equation as zeta minus x2 will be phi dash of zeta 1 into zeta minus x1. Okay. So this is our equation number 4. So similarly we can write zeta minus x3 is equals to phi dash of zeta 2 into zeta minus x2. That is our equation number 5 and so on. Right? So in this way we are getting the equations. So in general we can write zeta minus xn plus 1 is equals to phi dash of zeta n zeta minus xn. That is our nth equation. Okay. So now what is provided to us? Phi dash of zeta is less equal by k. Okay. We are provided in the theorem that phi dash of x is less equal by x. So which means that phi dash of zeta is also less equal by k, which is less than 1. Okay. We are provided that phi dash of x is mod of phi dash of x is less than 1. Which means that we can satisfy this equation which will be true for zeta I also. Okay. So hence all those equations, whatever the equation we have obtained here, we are having the values of phi dash. So after putting there, which is less equal by 1, so hence now the equation can be reduced to mod of zeta minus x1 will be strictly less than or less than equal to mod of zeta minus x0. Because here we are having phi dash of zeta naught. That phi dash of zeta naught is less than or equal to k or it is less than 1. So hence all the equations we can write zeta minus x2 is less than or equal to zeta minus x1 and so on. Okay. So in this way we will get the equations. Okay. Now what we have to do? Now we have to multiply equation 5 to 8 and simplify. We have to multiply all those equations. Now what is the meaning of this? Suppose we have written here zeta minus xn plus 1 will be less equal by mod of zeta minus xn. Okay, what is the meaning of this? This zeta minus x1 is less than x0. So this zeta minus x1 which is greater than equal by zeta minus x2 and so on. These all equations show that each successive approximations will remain in the interval I. Why it will remain in the interval I? Because zeta is also in the interval I, xn is also in the interval. So the difference between these two will be smaller and smaller. So whenever suppose this, here we are getting this much. Suppose this zeta minus x2 is a second approximation. So which is less than our first one. Okay. Initially we got whatever the root. Suppose we have here the interval a to b. So this is what x0. Then we'll get somewhere x1, x2 and so on. So the interval becomes smaller and smaller so that all the roots will lie in our interval I. We have to now multiply all those equations. Whatever the equations we have obtained, zeta minus x1 is equal to phi dash of zeta naught into zeta minus x naught. We have to multiply all those equations and we have to write down those equations as zeta minus x1 into zeta minus x2 and so on up to zeta minus, what is the last term we have obtained, xn plus 1 is equals to what we have in the right hand side. We have all those terms with phi dash of zeta naught, phi dash of zeta 1 and so on, phi dash of zeta n. And what we have next, we have zeta minus x naught, zeta minus x1 and so on, zeta minus xn. Okay, all those terms will get cancelled. Those who are common term, we can cancel those common term and we can write the equation. Okay. So this zeta minus x naught will remain as it is. Zeta minus xn up to all those terms will get cancelled. So what we remains here, it remains with zeta minus xn plus 1 is equals to all those values of phi dash into here we have written zeta minus x naught. Okay. But we know that all the values of phi dash are less than or equal to k. So if all the values are less than equal to k, we can write this instead of that, we can write it as k raised to n plus 1. Why k raised to n plus 1? Because we have phi dash of zeta naught, zeta 1 up to n. That is all those n term plus this not. So all those terms are less than or equal to k. Okay, if they are less than or equal to k means k into k up to n plus 1 times. So k raised to n plus 1. So hence we get this equation. So if n tends to infinity, so here if we can say if n tends to infinity, what will happen to the our equation? Because as we know that a value of k is less than 1, as n tends to infinity, this will become again smaller and smaller. Because k raised to n plus 1 is there, no? And k is less than 1. Whatever the quantity, suppose it is 0.5 raised to n plus 1. Suppose I am saying it is 101. So it will be very smaller, 0.5 into 0.500 times. So it is very smaller. So now we can say the root will converge to our, that means we will get the sequence x0, x1 up to xn such that which will converge to the root zeta of equation on the condition if k is strictly less than 1. Okay. So hence the proof. Now let us go for the next one, that is convergence of Newton-Raphson method. With the help of this we will see convergence of a Newton-Raphson method. Okay. We have already seen Newton-Raphson method we have derived with the help of a Taylor series xn plus 1. But with the formula for f of xn plus 1 we can write this f of xn into f dash of xn into xn plus 1 minus xn. F dash of xn plus next term is f double dash of xn divided by 2 factorial, and here it is xn plus 1 minus xn square and so on. So this is what a Taylor series. So now we can neglect the terms from the third and higher order derivative. So we can retain up to second order one. Okay. So now let us assume that exact root of an equation will be f of zeta is equal to 0. Now let us assume that xn plus 1 is very nearer to the exact root zeta of our equation. And if zeta is the exact root, so what will be f of zeta? It will be equals to 0. So similarly, I can say that f of xn plus 1 is also equals to 0. So from the above equation, we can say if I am going to neglect all the terms higher order than 3 or more than 3, so I will retain only this equation. So f of xn plus 1 will be equal to 0 if f of zeta is a 0. This I can put here, so I can write here as so let me write down here. So instead of f of xn, I have to write down this one. Xn minus xn plus 1 into f dash of xn, which is equated to 0. Okay. So now we will see what are the terms will cancel. F dash of xn, xn plus 1. So this term will cancel with this. This is positive, this is with the negative sign. So this will get cancelled. Okay. After this, what we are remaining with, we will write it as is equal to 0. And here we have xn into f dash of xn. Here we have so here we can write it as zeta instead of xn plus 1. So here this term we have put as it is because this term we have obtained from our formula. Okay. So this term will get cancelled. So what remains xn into f dash of xn, right? Plus zeta into f dash of xn plus this term f double dash of xn divided by 2 factorial into zeta minus xn square. take the terms common. What are the terms common here? Xn minus zeta, and here we have f dash of xn plus f double dash of xn divided by 2 factorial zeta minus xn square. Okay. So what is the value of zeta minus xn and zeta minus xn? It will be simply your error. That means xn is a nth approximate root, zeta is the exact root. So what is the value of this? We can write it as epsilon n. Okay. So here I hope here it should be remaining with. So these term will get cancelled. No? We are remaining with xn plus 1. Sorry for the mistake. So let me write down. So is equal to 0. So this term will be epsilon n plus 1, that is error at n plus 1 step into f dash of xn plus f double dash of xn divided by 2 factorial, and the error at nth step, it's a square. Okay. So now we have reached. So let me write down for epsilon n plus 1 is equal to, what will be the formula for epsilon n plus 1? Here will be f dash of xn. So if it is on left hand side, it will be with the negative sign, f double dash of xn divided by 2 factorial into epsilon n square. And if you remember the definition, you can see that we are getting one term which is epsilon k plus 1 is equal to c into epsilon k raised to p. So now let me write down epsilon n plus 1 is equals to f double dash upon f dash with a negative sign, here 2 factorial, and here it is epsilon n square. Okay. So whatever the value of this we are getting, this will be constant c, and here this is what our p. So this equation I can write it as epsilon n plus 1 is equal to c into epsilon n raised to p. So now we can say the Newton-Raphson method has the order of convergence is 2. Okay. And what is the value of constant is minus f double dash divided by 2f dash. Why we call this constant? Because values of those function f we have evaluated at a xn. This xn is our n, the approximate root. So we can find out those value. That will be one constant number. F of, suppose f of x5 we have found, but that will be one constant number. So after evaluating all those, it will be some constant number. So we are getting the relation between epsilon n plus 1 and epsilon n with some constant c, and this power p. This power p we have got it as equal to 2. So hence we can say Newton-Raphson method has a order of convergence is 2. So how we have derived this? We have to just use a Newton-Raphson method formula and as well as Taylor series formula. Okay. So in the next lecture we will see what is the convergence of secant method, and then we will go for general error formula, and it will complete our first chapter. So that now after the completion of first chapter we will declare our test. So you have to appear for the internal test. Okay. Thank you.